Inside this room, all of my dreams become realities, and some of my realities become dreams.
What in the wide, wide world of sports is going on here? Alive! It's alive! It's alive!
You are listening to The Wilder Ride, getting wilder by the minute. Here are your hosts, Alan Sanders and Walt Murray.
Hey everyone, welcome back to The Wilder Ride. Happy Hump Day. We're halfway through the week. The Wilder Ride, a podcast that celebrates the films of Gene Wilder 1 minute at a time. And for season 2, we are diving into Blazing Saddles 1, I Love It When You Talk Dirty to Me, minute at a time. I'm your host, I'm Alan Sanders.
I'm your co-host, Walt Murray.
And joining us again from across the pond from the podcast 60 Minutes With, we are really happy to bring back Tina Rogers. Tina, welcome.
Bore da bachgen. Speechless.
What in the hell was that?
That was hello, lovely boys.
In what?
In Welsh.
Are you serious? That's okay, so that's
Yeah.
Welsh?
Yeah. Well, actually, what time is it? Oh, here, as I'm speaking, it's 17 minutes past 7 at night. So really, I should have said nos da bachgen, which is good night, boys.
Ooh.
Or good evening, even.
Nasta Bachen.
Nos da.
Nosta.
That's it. Ooh, that sounded sexy.
Oh. Yeah, I'm going to come over there sometime. I'm just going to say, I'm going to close my eyes and just talk.
Well, I'm betting that this is a movies by minute first, because I bet this is the first time anybody's ever spoken Welsh on a movie by minute podcast.
Could be.
Probably.
So now
Hooray!
we know. Now, if we ever do another movie that has any Welsh in it at all, we'll have our Welsh counterpart we can get to translate.
Can't think of a film that's got Welsh in it.
Yeah, see, it'll be a very short, distinguished list.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
Maybe the Welch's grape jelly commercials, maybe?
I don't think.
Oh, wait, no, that's Welch's.
Welch.
That's something else.
Welsh.
Well, shh.
Like, shh.
Stop.
All right. Well, we obviously we had a chance to speak with Tina a lot yesterday about her background, so we can just dive right in today to this minute number 53, where we're going to start off with Hedley Lamarr rolling his eyes into the back of his head and saying, "I love it when you talk dirty." And we're going to end with the MC of the theater saying, "Let's hear it for Lily Von." But we don't get to her full name today. We'll have to finish that tomorrow. But we're talking today's minute. And we've got Tina joining us here on the Wilder Ride. And let's just start off right away in midst of conversation. Hedley Lamarr loves the fact that last minute she said, "Bullshit. What's the job?"
Yeah. Well, it goes back to him being very educated and posh again, doesn't it? And he, I don't know. You tell me. Two gorgeous men, Walt and Alan. Do you like it when women talk dirty?
Absolutely. Yes.
That was a yes and a yes.
But it depends, too. I've had a few that were just, kind of inappropriately crass. I don't know how to explain it.
Are we saying talk dirty in the terms of in the bedroom, or do we mean just having a dirty mouth?
Both.
I think I may temper that. In the bedroom, absolutely. I'm good with most, just if it's filtering in normal language, normal speak, but if it becomes every other word, I start going, okay, there's other words in the English language you can use.
Yes. So not so much the swearing, more the come over here and take that off, you naughty boy.
Okay, now just because I know how my editing's going to go, can I get you to do the faux whisper instead of the real whisper?
You mean like this?
No, I don't mean like...
Right.
I mean like the kind of thing you would say, hey, Dave's not in the room, is he? And I think he's responding to that. She's using sort of a dirty word, but she means it like, let's get down to business. And I think he's taking it that way. It's not just that she's swearing. It's let's get down to business.
Well, I think it's also that I think they just both have two completely different expectations of what their relationship is. She does not have any interest in him whatsoever beyond the business. He cannot get enough of her.
Yeah. And that's because I feel he's never done the lily legs lily up to her lady bits. I don't think Hedley has slept with Lily. I think he's tried and tried, really tried hard, and has got nowhere with her because she wants to pay him for it.
No, I think you're absolutely right, and we're going to get to some of the script outtakes. I just think when he rolls his eyes like that, I don't think it's necessarily the swearing, because the very thing she follows with is, "What's the job?"
Yeah.
And he's just like, "The job. Oh, the job."
Yeah.
He's so weird.
Who, me?
Well, yes. Yeah.
I actually think Hedley's quite sexy. When I watched the film, I don't know, have any of your other female guests ever mentioned this? That I think Jean is really attractive.
Think so.
You know
Bart.
what? We didn't ask him about Jean. We usually stick to who's in the minute, and I think every one of our female guests was just, for the most part, just Lily. And when we did talk about Jean, it was always in terms of admiring him as an actor and his body of work. But I don't think anyone has specifically come out and said it made them feel gooey inside.
Oh yeah, Gene Wilder's always had that effect on me, and I think it's got a lot to do with I normally like dark men, and he's very blonde and blue-eyed and fluffy-haired, but I think that goes to I don't know, I can't put my finger on it. I think it's because he's funny that I quite fancy him. But the main man in this film for me, as far as, going, is definitely Hedley. I don't know why, but I would shag him. I would shag Hedley.
Could be a little odd right now, though.
I don't know. I think it's because he's quite, I think he'd be quite kinky. Oh, I shouldn't be saying this.
Oh, no, I meant like now, today, like because he's dead.
Oh. Well, yeah, wouldn't be the first time I've dug somebody up.
Jeez.
Oh.
Before we get into some of the lines, because we're gonna come back into the room in a second, you keep using the term posh. I was gonna bring this up yesterday, but I'm gonna bring it up today. Mm-hmm. Do you know what posh means? Like where it came from, the derivation of the term posh?
No, not really. I think it's probably a slang
This is
word.
where I excel.
Yeah, go on then. Go.
So when you used to take cruises, well before the aeroplane, the well-to-do would go on cruises.
Port.
And they would always want sunshine when they were getting up. So you would go port out on the left side of the ship, but starboard on the way home, or the right side of the ship.
Yeah.
So port out, P-O, starboard home, S-H.
Yeah.
The very posh could afford to get a cabin on one side for the trip out, but then on the other side for the trip back.
Unless you were on the Titanic and then you'd die.
That would be the end result.
That would be the end result, yes.
For most of them.
I should have remembered that, actually. You're absolutely right.
I've always loved it. As soon as I've heard where that term comes from, anytime somebody says it, I always feel like, do you know what it means? I feel like, what's his name from Big Bang Theory? Sheldon. Do you know the derivation of this flag?
Yeah, I was thinking Cliff from Cheers, but yeah, sure, it works either way.
Yeah, Cliff.
Cliff Clavin.
Oh, I love it. Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, over here,
It's a dog-eat-dog kind of day, and I'm wearing milk-bone underwear.
It's a word that we use a lot over here, posh. There's just like normal people and a lot of posh people who all talk like that and like the Queen. But we don't like the Queen, Meghan Markle, or Kate and William, bloody rich.
Well, she's not the Queen yet, right? Isn't she just a
Kate?
princess?
No, but she will be. No, she's not a princess. She's a duchess, which is next to being princess. But yes, we just think they're scum-sucking parasites, those of us that aren't posh in Britain. We'd like to behead them all. See, I bet you don't hear that, do you really? I know that a lot of Americans come over to Britain and come on holiday and go to London and love the royal family. Over here, we're not so fond of the royal family because they really do spend loads of our tax money. And they're redundant, really. I mean, what do we need a queen for? Why do we need a queen? Well, except to make the crown, which is good. But yeah, apart from that, she never let me try a crown on.
Well, I always tick off my friends who get into all the royal weddings and everything, because I always post the line of Frank Drebin from Police Squad or Police Academy. No, Police Squad, where he said, or the Naked Gun.
There
movies,
you go.
Where he says,
enough time.
No matter how ridiculous having a queen is to us, we will do our best to respect her during her visit. And I just feel that way. I'm like, this is the most ridiculous and silly thing I've ever seen. I mean, just what is her purpose? What is her job other than walk around with a crown on and act important?
It's just a callback to the history and the formation of the country. It's just something so much older, but so steeped in history compared to our country that it's sort of one of those last dying vestiges of the past. It really doesn't serve a purpose.
Well, it doesn't. And you know, in the beginning, it would be sort of battles, and whoever won the battle would be head of the tribe, and then it got passed down and down and down. And they're so incredibly privileged, they have no idea what a normal person's life is like.
Let's go back to the mandate that plenty of other places for politics. We're going to talk about movies.
Back to Gene and his hair.
We do get a quick cut into the saloon, into the floor where they've set it all up for what's going to be the stage show. Walt, we do get right at about second 7, we do have a shot of Anal Johnson at the bar.
At the bar, yes, Mr. John. Well, the one of the many Mr. Johnsons, and serving it up. So they, I guess this building is kind of the all-purpose entertainment center.
Yeah, which makes sense. I mean, the saloon would have your card playing, you would have your upstairs romanticism, and then you'd have your shows that would come through.
I noticed that there's only in that particular scene and the one after it where they go back to the bar, that there's only 2 women, 2 saloon girls. One is up against the bar by Anal Johnson. I just thought, yeah. And there's a couple sort of over the other side of the room by the staircase. So I thought, well, I wonder how many saloon girls there would be in an average saloon. And I did a little bit of research, sort of just looked online, and I couldn't really find out anything about prostitution in saloons, or how many women would be in there, what their jobs would be, if they would work behind the bar actually serving alcohol, or if they were literally just good time girls. And the only thing that I could find was this like academic paper somebody had written about 10 years ago, saying that women in saloons weren't prostitutes and they were there to, inverted commas, give comfort to the men in the saloon. So it didn't expand on what that comfort was, but, you know, I don't know, do you think they baked them apple pies and told them that their mothers loved them, or?
Well, and I would have to get back to our Old West expert, but one of the early minutes we had with Jim Dunham is he said when these guys would come in with 100 days worth of wages all at once, they would go to, and he said, quote, the saloons, the brothels, or to a bathhouse, depending, you know, if they would get a bath, they'd go to a brothel, which he listed as a separate place from the saloon, where you would get gambling, where you would get a chance to get a good meal, get a show, entertainment. So I always thought that even though we sort of blend them in a lot of movies, it seems like it was actually separate areas, that they didn't blend the two.
That's quite interesting, isn't it, really, that there would be women working in a saloon. And I think it's through films that the consensus is that these women who worked in saloons were all prostitutes, when in fact they weren't. Some of them were just singers, weren't they?
Yeah, there was a lot of entertainment that would go through, a lot of shows, and they would do almost a vaudeville style of performance. They'd bring small little snippets of things. They wouldn't do, let's say, a whole thing of Shakespeare, but they may bring somebody who, for 5 minutes, will do a monologue.
Yeah.
And then they'd bring a different act on. And it was everything from maybe juggling to singing to just dance routines. They would just have these, almost like variety show. If you pay attention in the very quick shot of this, and I'm only pointing this out for our later minutes, I don't think, Tina, you're going to be with us when this happens, but there is a gentleman at the bar who looks like he's talking with Anal Johnson. That is a guy who is going to get so drunk he thinks he can come up on stage later. So keep an eye out for him.
Yeah.
But he is definitely at the bar tanking it up right now. Walt, are you back?
Well, yeah, my stupid mic is giving me trouble. But, talking about the women who worked in the bar, I think they had a variety of jobs, but I think most of their jobs were entertainment.
What kind of entertainment, though, Walt?
A wide variety of entertainment, but there was a lot of prostitution. There were a lot of things like that. But you were saying about the comfort. I've never really heard much beyond just kind of working in the bar as waitresses and things like that.
Yeah, and I don't know if you were
prostitutes.
I don't know if you were hearing, but I think what Jim Dunham was saying is that, and there may have been prostitution, sort of wink, wink, nudge, nudge, happening up in the saloon, but there were actual houses of prostitution versus the saloons, which would happen to be where you would get a meal, like a hotel bed. You'd have shows, entertainment, drinking, gambling, but that the brothels were a separate location. I'm sure there was probably some maybe higher. Maybe this was considered the call girl versus the typical prostitute. Maybe these were the they wanted to hang out with these guys and hope to spend a lot of money on them beforehand.
Yeah.
Yeah, could be. And I know there just weren't a ton of women in these towns. So
probably not a lot of single. I mean, and again, this is something where we probably need to wait for an expert to weigh in. But I do think that, in the saloon, if it was more of a regulated area, it wasn't the brothel, you might have the families where maybe that's where the mom goes to work or a daughter goes to work in the saloon as a job. Whereas obviously the brothel is a completely different kind of entity.
Yeah, totally different.
I would have thought that especially in that period, that a young girl or even a married woman working in a saloon would have been frowned upon. If it was, I just can't imagine like a Christian married woman or even her daughter working in a saloon would have been acceptable. For her husband, I would imagine that, I don't know, I could be totally wrong here, but I would have thought that the sort of women that worked in saloons may have been too young to be prostitutes, may have been too old to be prostitutes, or perhaps I've watched The Unforgiven too many times. Or
when we see our heroes walking in right around second 7, did you notice the piano playing in the background is already starting to play kind of an Old West player piano version of I'm Tired?
yes, yeah. But I was more blinded by the clothes that they had on. Sheriff Bart's fringe jacket.
Oh, and how do you like the leather jacket for Gene Wilder?
Actually, this is really interesting as well because, there's black hats, isn't there, and white hats in cowboy films, and the good guy would always wear the white hat. But when you look at Gene, he's almost like, he's got a leather jacket on, but he constantly always dresses in black. And that really reminded me of Henry Fonda in Once Upon a Time in the West. And Henry Fonda plays a really, really evil character in that film, which I'm sure you've both seen. Have you both seen Once Upon a Time in the West? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, sure.
I have not.
Have you not? Oh, dear. You better rectify that then. It's a fantastic film, and he plays a very evil character who rapes Claudia Cardinal. And as I was watching it the other day, as Gene Wilder walks in, I thought, oh my God, he really looks like Henry Fonda. But why is he dressed in black? Because he's not a baddie. But I guess he was, really, wasn't he?
Well, that's what I think.
He was, yeah.
I kind of think of him, and if you go with like either color symbolism or whatever, wearing black is usually a bad guy, but it can also be, quote, that sort of anti-hero, the sort of Han Solo, the one who, isn't necessarily an evil character, but has had his run-ins with maybe breaking the law or doing some things that were a little shady. And when you used to be a gunslinger, and then everybody has come to try to test out how fast is the Waco Kid, I mean, he's killed more people than Cecil B. DeMille.
Yeah. So he is, in essence, evil.
Well, I don't know. Is he evil? If somebody tries to come kill you, but you kill them first, does that make you evil?
Well, you see, I play a lot of Red Dead Redemption, and I know that you can lasso people instead of shooting them in the head.
Well, that just makes you an expert on the West. Red Dead Redemption 2.
Yeah.
I am so obsessed with that game. I have been playing that game non-stop since the day it came out. In fact, I was playing it just before I joined you this evening.
I think that's why you liked Jim Dunham's voice. He's got that deep, gravelly voice of the West.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, love it.
Want to come over and ride my horse?
Anytime, big boy.
So we get Gene and we get the Waco Kid and Sheriff Bart settling in. We hear the little planks of the player piano. We immediately cut back into the dressing room, and it looks like Hedley's trying to like manhandle poor Madeline Kahn from behind. She turns around. He tries to kind of, he's staring at her chest. He's got his hands all over her stomach and her sides, and she's just like, come on. Before we get into what they're actually saying, here's what is supposed to be going in this scene. If you remember at the very end of yesterday, when she says, bullshit, what's the job? Lamarr was supposed to say right away, why must it always be business with us? Then, after we cut away to the bar and come back, Lamarr, why do you constantly put me off? Do you find me so unattractive? Lily, only sexually. Lamarr looks stung. Lily goes, now come on, Lamarr. What's the job? So she asks it again. Lamarr, I want you to seduce and abandon the sheriff of Rockridge. Think you can do it? So we get just that last little bit when we see her turn around here. And she says, what do you want me to do? So instead of saying, what's the job twice, which is what the script would have called for, she just changes it to,
come on, Lamarr, let's get down to brass tacks. What do you want me to do?
Wow, that's a bit different, isn't it? That's sort of cutting out his him being abandoned by her, and underlined in the fact that she's not interested in him. I haven't heard that before.
Yeah, it's interesting that he kind of looks at her as, this is your skill, this is your talent. You seduce people for me, and maybe that's why he's the sponsor. Maybe that's what he uses her for all the time, to get information on people.
Yeah, well, she is sort of a mixture between Mata Hari and Marlene Dietrich in a film called Destry Rides Again.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think again, it's when you go back to Mel Brooks's obsessions with Nazis and Germany, and that he's obviously written, all of his scripts sort of gravitate around things that he's really obsessed with, and I think he must have been pretty obsessed with Marlene Dietrich, but also threw in the Mata Hari bit about her as well. Well,
I like what's on screen better than what's written. I think that it's a little, you don't need it. But we already get a good sense of what their relationship is that, he wants her. She's not interested. She's all business. He's, kind of a mix of business and sex, and she just isn't having it. She doesn't want any relationship with him beyond business.
No, I like
Right.
the way he's got hold of her and he's sort of snuffling her boobs at one point, isn't he? And she's pressed up against the dresser. And she's just totally, I mean, normally when a woman feels threatened, she's not in the least bit scared of him. And you can tell, like, she doesn't feel like he's abusing her in any way. She's literally just putting up with him. And she just wishes he'd just get on with it and then fuck off.
Right. She has no, this is one of those things where it's a script writing thing. Sometimes we write more than we need. We can see she isn't attracted to him sexually.
Yeah.
We can see she has no desire to do anything physical with him whatsoever. I don't need you to tell me what I can see for myself right now.
Yeah. Yes, gosh, when we go back to all the many, many men that she probably has had to seduce and then abandon.
Let's talk about that phrase, because he does finally stand up, tries to fix his cuff, and says, "I want you to seduce and abandon the sheriff of Rockridge." Why abandon? Why that phrase? Seduce we get, but what does it mean to seduce and abandon, and what is that supposed to end up doing to Sheriff Bart?
Have you ever been abandoned, Alan? Or Walter?
Well, I that's the point of the discussion here.
Yes. Have you ever been seduced by a gorgeous blonde woman and then abandoned? And she's...
I honestly, no.
Oh, you big head!
I've never had somebody like come on to me out of the clear blue and then fall for it, and then next thing I know, get left and turned into a puddle of jelly and incapable of being able to move on.
Oh, what about you, Walt?
I've never been abandoned.
No. Oh, okay then.
I've
Okay.
done my share bit of abandoning. But
I understand what's going on here. And he wants to break Sheriff Bart, and it feels like that would do it. But I think that he underestimates Sheriff Bart a lot.
A lot. Yeah.
And I'm sure we're going to find that out eventually.
Yeah.
But I just think it's an interesting phrase, to seduce and abandon, not like to seduce and assassinate or seduce. And it's basically get him to get so enamored with you and then drop him like a hot potato and make him just like lose any sense of his focus on his job or his manhood or anything. Like what I falls in this little puppy love thing and starts to cry. Is he going to stop being the sheriff? Is that supposed to make him quit and leave town?
It's a bit like an old episode of Dallas, isn't it? Melodrama, that she would seduce him and then abandon him and he would be lost and he'd probably leave the town. But as Walt said, he doesn't know Bart, does he?
I think that's exactly what he's thinking, is that if she breaks his heart, he will pack up and leave.
Yeah.
Well, and the way the dialogue continues, you know, after he says that, he says,
You think you can do it?
and she puts her foot up on the stool, exposing her leg, and then says this line,
Is Bismarck a herring?
Well, before you carry on, can I just mention one of the best bits of the film for me is where she looks at him and shakes her head a little bit, puts her leg up on the stool, and at 60 Minutes With, we were so obsessed with people putting their legs up in films, just one leg, up on a chair, up on a sofa, up on a whatever, just one leg up. And the amount of films that we found, especially action films, that the main guy would just put one leg up to show how masculine he was. We actually opened a Pinterest page and filled it full of stills from films with people with their legs up. So when Lily does it, it makes me laugh even more. But then it does because...
Well, in some weird way, it is kind of a power move.
Yeah, it's absolutely masculine, isn't it? Because she's got such a deep voice, isn't she? Is Bismarck a herring with one leg up? You know, and she's so dinky and feminine.
Yeah.
But at that
But it
moment,
kind of reminds you of like the cowboy putting his leg up on the fence, or
Yeah.
The cop putting his leg up on the desk. I mean, it does. I've never really thought about it, but it is kind of a power move.
Yeah, absolutely.
But in this case, she's showing her leg. Granted, the move might be, and I don't disagree, showing I'm going to be in control. I'm going to show you how in charge I am. But she's also showing her leg and then says the line, is Bismarck a herring?
And he is.
What the heck does that mean?
Bismarck is a herring.
Yes, but it's interesting for an American audience. I don't think most people would know that.
Well, neither did I. But I went on Wikipedia and I have something to read out. Because I never, ever got that. I knew who Bismarck was, but I didn't get that particular line. It made me laugh, but I didn't understand it. So the Bismarck herring is pickled fresh, filleted a Baltic herring, and is traditionally packed in small wooden barrels. Johann Weichmann had a store in Stralsund, Germany, and he admired Otto von Bismarck so much he sent him a barrel of herrings on his birthday. When the German Empire was created, Weichmann sent a second barrel to Bismarck, but this time he sent him a little note saying, "Please can we call the herrings after you, Otto?" And Otto, being such a lovely man, said yes. And the original recipe for Bismarck herrings, they were sold up until the end of World War II. And they've just been revived about 20 years ago, back in the original place they came from. So, and the other thing is, do you know anything about Otto von Bismarck? Would you like me to tell you who he is?
They named a ship after him.
Yes, a Bismarck. He's otherwise known as the Iron Duke. Again, this is all stuff that I probably did in school that I've forgotten, and I've been on Wikipedia again. The Iron Duke came from a wealthy family. As a young man, he studied law at university, and he was well known for chasing all his friends' wives. And I think he got one of them pregnant, and it nearly ruined his political career. But he went into politics as quite a young man in his early 20s, and he's known more than anything, apart from his funny helmet, is that he unified Germany and put his boss, Wilhelm I, in charge of the unified Germany. So really, Otto von Bismarck is an enabler of a nation, and he's got a herring named after him. There, and there endeth today's history lesson.
Well, what could be more important than having a herring company named after you?
Or a herring, indeed. Oh, my God, that's it. Do you think the fish smell that she was powdering from yesterday was a herring? Do you think?
Okay.
No.
I'm glad you went there, because that was actually the only thing I could try to figure out is, why are you bringing up what is considered kind of a strong smelling fish? Why would she bring that up? I mean, yes, saying is Bismarck a herring is like saying, does Reese's do peanut butter cups? I get that. But the fact that she chooses a fish, especially a herring, which is a very pungent smelling concoction.
Yeah.
Well, here's something strange, though.
Uh-oh.
There's another use of the same phrase in other media. In most... Oddly, about this same time, I think it was the year after this movie, in an episode of MASH, Trapper John McIntyre is talking to somebody, and it's in season 3, episode 1, which is the General Flips at dawn. And Trapper John McIntyre, somebody asks him a question, and he says, "Is Bismarck a herring?"
Wow.
So there's some discussion on that online that this is kind of a lesser known, kind of isn't that obvious kind of phrase.
Really?
Yeah, so it isn't necessarily specific to this, but it definitely isn't something that, is a really well-known line. But yeah, so at least we have a few uses of that line in culture around that same time.
I've never heard it before, and I live
had
in
not
Europe.
other than this movie.
Yeah. No, never heard it. Ever heard it before. So I was quite interested to read that.
While we're sitting here with her knee up and leg kind of open, in the script, we're supposed to hear a rapping at the door right at this point, and we hear 5 minutes. Then we, at the same time, see a hand smash through the door. We see the wooden arm of Leopold sticking into the room. From off screen, we hear, "Sorry," and the wooden arm is withdrawn.
Oh.
So obviously we don't do that because we have no Leopold in this, but it was an interesting little thing. So we had to add something here. I love this move. The camera shifts to a medium close-up, 2-shot, and he's like, "You're magnificent. Kiss me." And he comes in for like that sort of, all right, I've tried to use charming words. I've tried to use manhandling, rubbing all over you. I've tried to talk to you in a certain way. I'm just going to come in for the power kiss. Now, I think she would have gotten the worst of this. Have you ever had somebody bang their teeth into the back of your head?
Oh, Lily, you're magnificent. Kiss me.
I can't say I have, no.
Well, you used to play hockey.
Yeah, I have been hit in the head with someone's teeth before. That was actually playing just neighborhood tackle football, and I probably have a scar on the top of my head from it.
Oh, yeah, it would be amazingly painful to her, but she acts like it doesn't feel it at all. And then, while he's massaging his mouth, she pulls her head up to go back to the mirror, like, whatever. And it was such a great cartoon noise when he bumps into her.
It really is.
I mean, it sounds like, the whoomp when Taggart hits Lyle when he goes, "Well, I'll send a couple of horses." He's like, "Horses? We can't afford to lose no horses." It sounds like the same kind of thump being used here.
Well, as I was watching it, I'd still got the German audio on. And after he hits his teeth in the back of her head, he sort of makes a bit of a grrr noise. In this German version, he says another line. As he's holding his teeth, he says something in German, but I don't know what it is.
Really? Because all we hear him is just going, "Oh," like,
yeah, no,
do I
he
still
says
have
a
my
line.
teeth?
Yeah. You should take a listen.
I will have to put the German language on for this scene to hear it. All right, as we begin to wrap up this minute, I know there's still several seconds, but this last little bit, we come back into the saloon, into the area, the audience area. We see a shot with their hats kind of in the foreground and at the very bottom of the screen, and the stage is all set up. It's all in red. We've got sort of a I don't know, do you call that a duvet? Is that sort of like that kind of a chaise lounge? Like, what do you call that?
A chaise lounge.
A chaise lounge. Okay.
Chaise lounge, yeah.
So on the stage, it looks like this guy comes running in with his pants tucked up into his cowboy boots, and I guess, Walt, is this the MC of the theater?
I guess it is. That's how he's credited. And the actor is a guy by the name of Patrick Campbell, and he is the third Patrick Campbell credited on IMDb. But yes, he is credited as the MC, and he may have one of the shortest speaking parts in the movie. So, and you know what? There is an actual note that he is the MC at the show, but he is uncredited.
Yeah, he wasn't in any of the original credits, but we know a lot of people, just the time in film, where a lot of people, if you had a very minor part, I mean, now, the way it's so regulated, if you say a word, you're going to get credited. So, yeah, it's really weird that we see such few credits with this movie, and so many people that, thanks to IMDb, we can go and find out who was it and what other movies or TV shows did they do besides just this.
Yeah, and Patrick Campbell has kind of an interesting career. He's got a lot of real bombs in here, but he's got 43 credits. His first credit was a movie that Jim had actually talked about a few weeks ago, Cat Ballou, which was a Western.
A Western comedy.
Yeah, Western comedy. He played The Undertaker. He was uncredited in that. He was on a show called Petticoat Junction, the TV show Mission
Can I
Impossible.
tell you, as a kid, and I know they weren't necessarily naked, but when those three women pop up out of the water tower and then pop back down, it always did something funny to my little man bits.
Come ride the little train that is rolling down the tracks to the junction. Forget about your cares, it is time to relax at the junction. Lots of curves, you bet, and even more when you get to the junction.
Petticoat Junction.
That was a show that I've heard of that we never saw in Britain. I've never seen Petticoat Junction.
Really? I bet you could probably find some of them online, or at least watch the opening.
Yeah,
I bet you can.
Yeah.
And I remember that was one of those things. Same thing with like Gilligan's Island. The first season was black and white, if I remember correctly, and then it went to color. And then all I did was find myself getting even hotter under the collar.
That's another program that we didn't get over here. Really, I don't recall ever seeing Gilligan's Island, but we did have.
Really?
Yeah, we had the High Chaparral, which I loved when I was a little girl. My dad loved it, so I got to watch it. And my personal favourite that nobody remembers was Branded. Do you remember that? It's a cowboy.
I remember.
Chuck
I don't know that I
Connors.
ever watched it though. Oh yeah, Chuck Connors. Okay, yeah, I got you.
Yeah,
That's an
Yeah, so
old series, though. You probably caught it in.
really.
Well, maybe you caught. I'm sure you caught it in syndication because I think that was only 2 years. It's like mid '60s.
Yeah, but it would have been on sort of mid-70s over here when I was a girl.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
So, but it was
yeah.
okay. So obviously syndicated. It wasn't. You weren't catching. They were reruns or purchased and replayed over there.
Oh, this was Britain. We didn't do syndication. We had 3 channels and that was it.
Well,
Seriously.
growing up in the U.S., we all grew up with 3, maybe 4 stations. If you had,
Yeah.
we had. Well, I take that back. We may have been really lucky. We would have 3 or 4 VHF channels, but if you switched over to the UHF, you could maybe find 3 or 4 more. So you could maybe have 7 or 8 total channels.
No, we only had 3 channels over here till the early 80s. And then we had a 4th channel. And that was it.
Wait, when did you guys start going to like cable, or did you ever have things like cable television?
It must have been round about the end of the 80s, beginning of the 90s, before we had satellite television. We've never really, I mean, there is cable now, but it's satellite television in Britain.
Wow.
Sky.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
That's wild. See, sometimes so many shows are so similar or the same. We're talking and with folks across the pond here, and then all of a sudden we run into this like, well, wait a minute, how that's totally different. Like everywhere we went here in the U.S., starting in the 70s and then certainly through the 80s, everyone was going to cable, and then slowly cable and satellite, and we still are pretty much cable satellite. But I'm assuming we're all now dealing with, and the cable companies are all dealing with, everyone's starting to move towards streaming and on demand and getting rid of cable and satellite.
Well, it's all, I mean, everybody here has Netflix. Everyone used to have Sky, but it's incredibly expensive. They've priced themselves out of the market. But having said that, there's a lot of places in Britain, just, sort of 10 miles up the road from where I live, can't watch Netflix because they literally can't get the internet.
Yeah. Yeah, well, there's places like that in our country where if you're too far out from any major city, you're probably not going to have good internet.
Yeah, so it's all centred into cities and towns. And if you live on the outskirts, you don't matter.
Now, well, I know I interrupted you with the Petticoat Junction, but what were some of the other credits that this guy had?
Oh, yeah. He was on Mission Impossible. He then had a long run of some really terrible shows that nobody's heard of. Then My Three Sons, Mayberry RFD, which was the follow-on to the Andy Griffith Show after Andy Griffith left. Let's see, anything else that we've heard of? Love American Style, which was kind of a crazy comedy thing.
No, wait a minute. Was it the show?
It was a variety
Love
show.
Love American Style.
Of.
They would have like individual stories every week, but that's where the original concept of Happy Days aired, was on Love American Style.
Wow.
Yes.
They had the
Loved
concept
Happy
of the
Days.
Cunninghams, and they had this guy that was a biker that lived next door, and he was like the Fonz, and so they told that story, and someone got interested enough to say we could probably make a series out of it, and it turned into Happy Days.
Sunday, Monday, happy days. Tuesday, Wednesday, happy days. Thursday, Friday, happy days. The weekend comes, my cycle hums, ready to race to you. These days are all happy and free. Happy days. These days are all share them with me. Goodbye, gray sky, hello, blue. There's nothing can hold me when I hold you. So right.
Yeah.
You can't be wrong.
And then he was on several episodes of The Mary Tyler Moore Show. He was in Silent Movie. He played the Motel Bellhop. He was actually credited there. He was on 2 episodes of Sanford and Son, which, of course, a lot of our actors were on that and was one of my favorite shows. Monster Squad, Halloween with the Addams Family, a bunch of terrible stuff. Let's see. And then a movie called Smokey Bites the Dust, which I assumed was something to do with Smokey and the Bandit. It was not. It was a... I just want to read the description of this because it sounds terrible.
Oh, dear.
Let me get back over here. Okay, so the movie follows the rivalry between a small-town southern sheriff and a small-town teenage thief who steals cars and destroys them with the sheriff's daughter by his side. It stars absolutely no one you've ever heard of. And let's see, the IMDb rating is the lowest of any movie I've ever seen, a 3.1.
Wow.
It was released in 1981, and nobody has seen it since 1981.
This is perfect. Tina, get that to Dave for one of his Decade of Decadence shows. Force him to find it and watch it.
Yeah, the bad thing is I now want to see this because it sounds so terrible.
1981, it qualifies. It's in the 80s.
Yes, it does. Then Alice, he was on an episode of Alice. He was on an episode of Trapper John MD. The TV show Dallas, he was on a couple episodes there. He was in the horrible piece of garbage movie Critters 2, which they shouldn't have even made a Critters 1. But it was kind of in that weird 1988 time frame where they were making movies about every kind of piece of garbage. And then his last credit is 1993. He was in a video called Body of Influence. And I think this was one of those movies that never hit the theater that actually went straight to video, and may have also been one of those late night Cinemax kind of movies. And it has a 4.6 rating, and maybe we've heard of one or two of the people in here, but I don't think so. But Don Swayze is in it, who I think is Patrick Swayze's far less talented brother.
He is. He looks just like him as well.
He does.
Yeah. Yeah, he's always in movies with Bruce Willis's brother. Don Swayze. Can't remember his name actually, but it's Bruce Willis's brother and John Travolta's brother as well. Those 3 brothers are always in action films together from the 80s.
And I'm assuming they're all sort of B movies. They're all crappy. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, this wouldn't even be a B movie. This would be like a D movie.
Yeah. Oh.
For a dadgum piece of garbage. So.
Oh, you've just got no taste, Waltz.
But see, I love these bad movies, though.
Yeah.
So I probably would like that. But he passed away in 2003 at the age of 78 out in California. So he unfortunately had a very lackluster career with some very bad movies, but then also some of our favorites.
Yeah, but he's been in a lot more movies than I have so far, and he made a career at it.
That's right.
So,
he has 43 more credits than I do.
We'll end this, and the script, he does a great job delivering his lines perfectly, because the script calls for him to say, and now, ladies and gentlemen,
That gal you all been waiting for, the Bavarian bombshell herself. Let's hear it for Lily Vaughan.
And we don't get the rest of it today. We're going to have to come back tomorrow to get the rest of it, but I will tease the audience. You need to come back tomorrow, because tomorrow is a scene in the script that they filmed, and it was on the television version, the version I grew up watching before I saw the theatrical release, that is not in this release. but you're going to have to come back tomorrow for that. Before we set the stage on what else comes tomorrow, Tina, you've been our guest. We go to you first. Besides, ladies first. What else in your notes do we have that we didn't cover this minute?
The one thing I wanted to mention was the guy that you've just been talking about. One thing I've been very interested in that I never really took a lot of notice of is the costumes in this film, which are incredible. And this particular compere on stage, the guy that you were just talking about, has on a cowhide waistcoat. Which just made me laugh because it looks like somebody's killed a cow and literally just skinned it and made a... Is that a thing? Do American men?
Oh, yeah. I was going to actually... You called it the waistcoat. I'm thinking the shirt underneath. I'm thinking that's the same thing you mean. I was like, when did he become a fan of 101 Dalmatians?
Yeah, literally. That's what it looks like, but it's brown. I don't know. But it's very... You can tell that it's real. You can see the fur on it.
Is it furs or just dyed that way?
No,
I think it's fur. Yeah,
yeah,
that looks like
it
a
really
real
is.
cow coat.
Yeah. So is that a thing that like? Have you got one on now?
No.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. We all wear that.
Oh, really? Just that?
No,
nothing else?
I would say during that time period, though, out in that part of the country, you probably. Yeah, you would probably be able to find a good cow coat or a buffalo coat.
Wow. Yes, very swish. I say.
I can't even imagine that, Walt. I think you're just making that up.
Nah. Go over to, what is that cowboy store over in Marietta? Oh, shoot.
I know what you're talking about. The... Boot something.
Yeah, Boot Town or something like that.
Yeah. I think that's it, Boot Town.
You would be able to buy one there.
You know what? I just did a picture for faux print cow coats, and I came up with a lady's stylish cow print jacket, a faux fur jacket for, and now I see it. Yeah, that's I guess that's a thing.
Well, I know what my mom's getting for Christmas.
Look at that. Wow. Okay, Walt, we got to see if there's any money in petty cash. We'll have to get a couple of these, and from now on, we start broadcasting in these.
For our first live show, that's going to be our outfit.
Oh, and I could have a bra made out of one as well, couldn't I? Like Rackle Welsh in 10,000 years BC. Barely covering my nipples.
Oh, God. Well, you have been a great guest.
They could leave the udders on, couldn't they? That would be interesting.
Oh my God.
What's the line from Witness? Have you never held a teat before? Yeah, just never one this big. Okay, that's a good find, Tina. Anything else?
No, I think I should be quiet now.
Walt, what do you got?
The only other thing I was gonna say is if you want to take a quick trip over to BavariaSausage.com, you can purchase your best Bismarck herring by the 17.5 ounce jar for $6.99.
How many people are going to look at Bavarian sausage online?
Oh, a ton of our listeners are gonna go there, and I bet at least one or two of them will buy that.
Oh, they're not going to find any herrings or sausages if they Google one.
For some reason, the Bavaria Sausage Company is going to be like, "What the hell just happened? We've got all these hits coming from America, and people ordering our wild game and our Bismarck herring."
Oh my God, I'm here.
I wonder what wild game they have.
This is cool.
Oh, they actually will do processing.
Yeah, they do. This is awesome. Bavarian Sausage Company. Well, there's a U.S. Is it? No, it's
So while the boys are looking at Bavarian sausage, I'd like to say goodnight to all our listeners.
Hold on.
And thank
I haven't
you for
been this
listening.
excited by sausage since I saw that Sylvester Stallone film that he tries to hide. Oh my God. But this is not from Bavaria. This is just in Wisconsin.
So?
Oh, okay. Because I'm like, it's got a .com. All right. Well, that's all Walt has. I'm probably going to dump all that or use it for an outtake.
No, you've got to. We got to make this company go.
Would you want to be a sponsor of the? You guys want to be a sponsor of the Wilder Ride podcast?
Well, they're going to see all these hits, and they're going to be like, yeah, we got to get in on this deal.
Well, their site's not secure right now, so somebody doesn't know how to update their Google settings. Anyway, anything else?
No, I think I've covered everything.
Yeah, I'm about done in, and we've still got another minute to go with our guests. So before I tell you what's coming up tomorrow, Tina, if you can let us know quickly, you're obviously a very funny person, and you've got a lot on your mind, a lot to say, and you get a chance to say it on your own podcast with other shows as well under sort of a single banner. Can you tell us where we can find you?
www.
Oh my
Did I say that okay, Walt?
That was perfect. Perfect.
I'll just say it again just for Waller. Okay, Waller? Ready? www. I can't remember what the address is. Okay, hang on.
Do you need some help?
I need some help. I need a firm hand on my entrance. 60 www.60minutesworth.co.uk.
I'm going to get her voice to be my new Siri voice, so when it gives me turn-by-turn directions.
Yeah. Did I say that right, Daddy?
Sorry,
I can't call you Daddy on
job,
air.
Honey.
Thank you, Daddy.
You done good, sweetheart. You done
Thank
good.
you.
You're going to cut out the stuff about Bavaria sausage, but leave that in?
Well, one, I don't mind hearing over and over and over again in a constant loop.
Very true.
That'll be my text tone from Tina.
Oh dear! Honestly, if you saw me sitting here now, I'm in this little bedroom, and I am so hot. And without a word of a lie, I need to go and take my top off.
Oh, God.
Hold on, where's our video? Wait a minute.
Oh, believe me, you don't want to see that.
All right, 60 Minutes With. Folks, follow them also on Twitter, very active on Twitter, and they're very active in Instagram. So check them out, Twitter and Instagram, 60 Minutes With, and it's 60 minutes with altogether.co.uk. Very, very cool guys. A very cool team, a whole broadcast team that does several different kinds of shows underneath that banner. And we are just very, very pleased that we were able to get you to join us for some of these minutes. Walt, where can people go to learn more about how to engage with us? You know, somebody heard something, we said something wrong, we left something out, they can't believe we forgot to talk about something. Where can they go to air their grievances?
Well, you can just keep that to yourself, or... Or you can go join us at our Facebook page at facebook.com/thewilderride, and then jump over to our listeners group from there and air any grievances. And I would really love to hear any of the grievances, but because I'm sure we miss stuff and I'm sure we get stuff wrong. But that'd be a great place to join us. And then you can always also go over to our website at thewilderride.com and check us out there.
And come on back tomorrow, folks. We've got a Thursday episode. We've got Tina coming back, and we're going to start the minute with Stupp. So we get the final address of the MC and basically introducing Lily von Stupp to the stage. And we're going to end in the middle of her singing, I'm sick and tired of love. We have to come back tomorrow to get that whole rendition and her performance on stage, including parts that are not in the theatrical version, but were filmed and I got to see on the television version. But you got to come back tomorrow for this, The Wilder Ride. Telling you what, I don't ever want to smell pickled herrings that close to something I love.
Well, did you see that this place has cow tongue? Weren't you looking for that the other day?
Oh my God, that's so grossly disgusting. Why would you want to put and eat something else's tongue?
I have no idea.
Oh dear, you two are so slick, you know.
Oh.
Or something. Yeah, they sit around and get high and then drive like 4 miles an hour home.
Right, exactly. Stop 300 feet before the stop sign.
Right.
Dude, what are you doing? There's a stop sign up there.
Buy a bunch of Twinkies and keep the economy rolling.
Right.
Oh,
Anyway.
well, me and Dave, we're so clean living, we don't take drugs. We're very,
But
we're
you
old.
drink.
Not really. Dave, I suppose Dave does. I don't, though. I used to, but
Look,
I just...
as long as I've got the word functioning in my title, I'm fine.
And oh no. Oh.
And all this is going in Alan's private collection. This is not actually going for air.
This is a different kind of outtake. It's now my ringtone. You know, almost like variety show.
Yeah.
Walt, you're being awful quiet all of a sudden.
He's looking at something on his phone, isn't he?
He's looking up brothel and he got died, and now he's like, come on. He muted his mic. Well, while Walt is taking care of walking the parapet,